Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Schedules webinar. My name is Nick, and I'll be doing the presentation with you today. Just like all of our previous webinars, everybody will be on mute, but if you do happen to have any questions at any point during our class, please feel free to go ahead and type that into the questions area, and I will, at the end of the class, I will go through and answer any questions that may have come up. Also, at the end of the class, I will be sending out an email that contains the document that we're going to be covering for today's class. And should you happen to have any questions while going over that document, you can reach out to our support department. They'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Again, today's class is on schedules, and my name is Nick. So in today's class, we're going to be taking a look at how to not only insert schedules, but to look at how schedules help to clarify your drawings by providing information about specific elements within your design. You can instantly create door, window, member, or room finish schedules for any location within your project. Schedules can be customized to suit your needs. And once you have generated a schedule, you can insert it into your project with just a simple mouse click. So again, today's class, we're going to be going through and looking at creating door and window schedules. We're also going to be looking at room finish schedules, member schedules, and we're also going to be looking at inserting our schedules into our worksheet views. So first, let's talk about door and window schedules. You can instantly generate a door or window schedule for each building location in your project and insert it into your drawing. When you create a door or window schedule, each door or window in the floor plan will then be tagged with a unique symbol that will be referenced within the schedule itself. You can customize the layout and the appearance of a schedule if you want to, again, suit your design needs. Just a note here, before you can create a window or door schedule, you must first have doors or windows inserted into your floor plan. So what we're going to do is we're going to be taking this basic drawing that we have here, and you can see that there are doors and windows added in already for us. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to insert a window schedule into our design. So we're going to go up and we're going to select under Tools, we're going to select Analyze. And under Analyze, we're going to see Schedules. And then once you hover over schedules, it's going to fly out and you're going to see all the different schedule types available to you. And we're going to focus on window schedule right now. So I'm just going to click window schedule. When I do that, I'm going to see the window schedule dialog box. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is that the schedule title is just window schedule. If you're going to be inserting schedules on multiple locations, so if you have a foundation, a ground floor, and a second floor, you may want to make sure that you change the title to reference the location you're currently working on. So in this case, if I was going to add this in, I would probably put in first floor or ground floor, and I'd probably make sure that cap locks is turned on, and I would just say ground floor window schedule. Again, just to help me distinguish between the schedules when I insert them. What you're also going to notice is that we also provide a elevation view. So what the window looks like, and we can scroll through, we can see that we have our bay window or our bow window, we have our fixed window, we have our double hung, and then we also have a double casement. And then we can see the mark number that shows up with it. We're also going to see the size and the description. Not only that, but we're also giving you a count. So you can tell how many of each type of window is inserted on that location. To adjust the way that the schedules insert, we can have it set up so that it inserts, and again, you're going to want this to insert based on the location you're currently working on. So here we want this to be inserted on the ground floor. But to control how the schedules are going to look, we can have it tag the element with a schedule mark. Now, this will provide a mark with a number, like we can see here, in the plan view once the schedule is inserted. Some people like to see this. Other people just like to have just the opening size or the window size underneath the window itself. So they may want to uncheck this, and then in the drawing file, they will have the mark turned on for the windows. But again, if you want to show an actual mark with a number or a letter designation, then you're going to want to keep this option checked. Then we're going to go into setup. And this is what's going to control how this schedule actually looks. So what we're seeing here is everything that we see along the top here is controlled within the setup. So I can add or insert or remove columns and headers and add in my own. I can adjust the sizing, the heading names. I can adjust the mark styles. So again, if I have the tag elements checked, it's going to insert an octagon, and inside that octagon is going to be the mark number or letter or whatever the designation is that I have defined for that. We can also control the text that's going to be used. So if you want different text for the marks, so if you want it to be italic and bold, you can create a new text style called mark text. And you can then, or schedule text, and then that way you know which ones to use for the text style that you want for your actual marks. You can also apply an insertion offset. So here we have it set to 5 inches, and this just moves the mark and the text 5 inches away from the opening itself. So this way it's not sitting right in the middle of the opening. We can also control the schedule appearance. So again, we can control the text in the title, the text in the headings, and the text in the marks area. So here we can see, or the content text, and here you can see we're using the marks text style. And we have all of this center justified. So everything is going to be center justified. The border itself, we're using a black color that's going to be using a continuous medium line weight. You can also adjust the division. So if you want to adjust the division lines, you can again use it to have a set color, a set line type, and a set line weight. Ours are just set to black, and we have the actual border being the darker line style. Once we're okay with all of this, what we're going to do here is we're just going to simply let's go up, and I'll just show you what happens when you want to add in or remove an object. So when you want to add in, it is always going to add in the text to the left-hand side of that currently selected one. So if I select mark and I select insert, it's going to create a new blank column to the left of the selected column itself. So if I want to add in more, or if I want to move things around, I would remove and then select. If I wanted it between mark and size, I would select size and then insert, and I would get the new heading in this area. And then all we're going to do here is we're just going to simply say, okay. So we've now set up our schedule to insert the way that we would like to see. So I'm going to keep the tag elements with schedule marks turned on for our windows, and then I'm just going to simply say, okay. That's going to bring up the ground floor window schedule, and I'm going to insert this up away or off to the side. You can decide wherever you want to, but I just want you to take note of where I'm inserting it. I'm going to move mine off of the terrain, off to the right-hand side, and I'm just going to left-click right there. Once I add that in, I can now see all of my windows are now tagged with that octagon with the number inside of the text, or inside the drawing area. Now I'm going to change up the way the doors insert. So right now by default, if I go in and I take a look at the doors and I go under quantity, I can have the doors have the text turned on. So right now it is showing a mark of 2868. I'm going to say okay to that. Now under my view filter, I probably have the text turned off. So tags and marks are turned off. If I turn them back on, I can see the actual text that's being inserted. So I want that to stay on for my doors, but I'm going to turn it off for all of my windows as an example. So I'm just going to select all similar properties, And then under quantity, I'm just going to say off. And that's just going to turn off the text for the marks for my openings. So again, I'm just going to go in and say properties, quantity. Instead of showing it, I'm just going to say off, and I'm going to say okay. And I'm just going to do that for all of the openings here. And then properties, off, and then say okay. And then we got one more. So again, I'm going to have the schedules dictate what the text is for my windows, but I want to show you the other options so that you can see it. So now we also have the marks for our doors. So the doors are going to show up with the actual sizes. I want them to see the size and the height of our doors. So when I go to create my door schedule, I can go up to Tools, Analyze, Schedules, Door Schedule. And again, I'm going to see a preview of the door with the elevation. I'm going to see exactly the same content that we see with our windows. We're again going to make sure that we say ground floor, door schedule. And instead of tagging the elements in our drawing, I'm just going to uncheck that. So now we're saying, I don't want to see the actual marks. I just want to see the schedule off to the right-hand side. So again, we can go to setup. We can again go through and adjust just like we did with our windows. You can edit how you want all of this to be displayed. You can just say okay. And then again, making sure you're on the correct location and say okay. And then attached to your cursor will be that schedule. And then you can left click and place it. So now what happens is we can see our actual schedule is in, and we actually don't see the marks showing up in the floor plan. So you can insert schedules to show the marks or not show the marks. Again, it's completely up to you on how you want to depict that in your floor plans. So now let's take a look at room finish schedules. A room finish schedule reports information such as the area, the perimeter, and the volume of each room or region within your model. You can also include custom content in the schedule, such as the floor, wall, or ceiling finishes you intend to use in your design. To generate a room finish schedule, you must first define room regions in your project using the room region by picking points or the room region by room tool. We're going to go up and we're going to select Tools, Analyze, and then we're going to go and we're going to select under Schedules. We're going to select the room region by picking points. And I'm going to use this option right here. And I'm just going to say, I want to define this as my living room. So I'm going to define a living room area, and I'm going to name it living room. Now, when you change the name here, this is again just going to be the name that's going to be displayed in the schedule itself. It can be a name or it can be a display mark. Now, I want you to recognize that the display mark is going to show up in my actual reports. So I want to make sure that even if I'm giving it a name, I do want to make sure I change the display mark as well. So here, maybe I want this to be, instead of a display mark of A1, I want this to be, we're just going to call it mark 1. So I'm going to say M1. And then I'm going to go back and say I want to display that just as living room. I want it center justified. I can control what I want to calculate. So in here, I'm saying I want to calculate just the area of the living room. But I can also calculate the perimeter and the volume of that design as well. If you do want to adjust the volume, you have to make sure you add in the correct height of the room itself. And you can edit that using the height box. I'm just going to uncheck that. And then we have an additional schedule fields. And in here, you can add in different notes. You can add in the material that you want to use for that area. So for the living room, I want it to be carpet with a painted ceiling. And I want it to be a Benjamin Moore color from the color code. And then my base finish is going to be oak base. When I say okay, it's now going to ask me to define where I want that to sit. Now I want this room region to sit from my core to my wall. And I'm just going to go to the center of this wall right here, like so. And then we're just going to go over. I'm going to use my snap track here to get an actual point. And I'm going to use snap track like so. And so what that will do is it will now add in that living room schedule. So I can see living room and I can see the area is defined. I can double click on that and it will bring up the properties of that room region. And under the properties of that room region, I can make any kind of edits that I want. So here you can see it says living room. It shows me that there's the carpet. But under the settings, I can again adjust how I want certain things to be displayed. So here again, we're seeing the text style is set to notes. I have a color, a line type, and a line weight. I have my calculations appearing with the dimensions text style. And then I can also include a hatch pattern. So if I wanted to hatch this out, I can show a hatch pattern. And then when I go into pattern view, so if I look at this in a pattern view, I would see that area highlighted in that blue color. And I'm just going to go back to hidden line. I'm sorry, rendered out, or sorry, not hidden line, wireframe. And we can see that area. I can add in multiple room regions. So if I want to show this as the dining room or the kitchen, we'll say kitchen. So we're going to go up to tools, analyze, schedules, room region by picking points. We're going to call this kitchen. And I'm just going to go kitchen. And then I want this to be M2. So again, I'm just changing the mark number. I'm leaving it set to display name of kitchen. And again, I'll show you why in just a moment. And then in here, let's do not only the area, but let's do the perimeter as well. I don't want carpet in here, so this is going to be hardwood. So I'm going to turn off the cap locks. I'm just going to say hardwood. You know what, let's make a tile. We'll say tile. The ceiling is going to be painted. We're going to use the same paint color, and we'll use the same base. Settings, I'm going to keep everything the same. I want the marks to look identical, but just different names. So nothing's going to change there. And we're going to say maybe we want a different color for the dining room. So instead of being a blue color, let's change this one to be a orange color. So we're going to say orange, and then okay, and then okay. And then we're just going to pick our points like so. And we're going to say finish. So now we can see kitchen with the area plus the perimeter. But again, if I go into a pattern view, I can now see the orange and the blue designation to help me distinguish between the actual rooms. I'm just going to turn that back off, so back into wireframe. So now let's say I want to insert my room region schedule, or sorry, and I want to add in a new area for this room over here. So I would just again go up to tools, analyze, schedules, room region by picking points. This is going to be the foyer. So I'm just going to go foyer. Again, this is going to be M3. And again, we're just going to do just the area for this. And this one's going to be hardwood. And then we're going to say, okay. And again, you're just going to pick your points around the room. I'm not going to include the closet. So we're just going to omit the closet area. And then we're going to say finish. So now we're going to see foyer. And back in, let's change the color to be pink. We'll say okay and okay. And again, it's going to highlight that area to show the different color codes for those different areas. Now, when I insert my schedule for this room regions, all I have to do is go up to, again, tools, analyze, schedules, and I'm going to select the room region schedule. Again, very similar to what the door and window schedule looks like. Again, we're going to see schedule mark. Again, I want to be very specific with the naming convention. So this is going to be ground floor room schedule. And if you remember how I said the mark was important and I was changing it on purpose, because it does show up in here. So if I do want to make sure that my legend or my schedule shows this, I want to include the correct numbering for it. So I'm going to have these broken down into Mark 1, Mark 2, and Mark 3. And then again, we can see living room, kitchen, and foyer. Also in this schedule, not only are we seeing the area, but we're seeing, again, the wall finish, the baseboard options, the floor finish, and then any notes that we want to add in here as well. We can also go up to setup, and as you can see, ceiling is not in here. So let's add ceiling in. So I'm going to go over, I'm going to select the notes, and actually, I'm going to select the floor finish because I want to keep them all consistent. So I want to make sure that they are using the same settings. So I'm just going to grab floor finish, and we're going to say insert. And I'm just going to call this ceiling finish. And I got cap locks turned on. And then under the content, we are going to change that to be ceiling finish. I want that to be 2 inches wide to match the other options. And everything else is going to stay the same. And I'm going to say OK. So now it's going to show me wall finish, baseboard, ceiling, and floor. If you want to add in notes, you can actually just type in to this field. So I can say, I want to add in a specific note for the living room. I can say basically whatever I want in here, ceiling fan, whatever I want, really, just to add in as a note for the living room. And then I can just say, OK. And then attached to my cursor is again going to be a schedule. And as you can see, I'm going to move this off to the right-hand side. And I'm just going to separate these just a little bit here. So I'm just going to move this guy down like so. So I've now got my 3 schedules added in. And this schedule, again, shows me each room with its area, the wall, baseboard, ceiling, floor, and then any notes that I added in for that specific room. And all of that will be included in that schedule. So now what we're going to do is we're going to be taking a look at the member schedule. Now, a member schedule reports the members used to frame your floors, your ceilings, and your roof. Things like joists, rim joists, and rafters. It also reports decking and members that you have inserted using one of the member tools. Floors, ceilings, and roofs have framing information attached to them in their properties, but their members will not report in a member schedule unless you convert their framing to members first. Just a note here, building essentials and construction suite users will need to use the structural floor tool to add in your framed floor in your designs. So you can use the basic floor option and apply a member to it, but the structural floor is by far the more accurate way of doing it. So that's why by default, you're not going to have any framing assigned to basic floors. All that will be done under your structural floor. What we're going to do is we are going to convert in our drawing one of our elements to be framing. So I'm just going to double check and see what we have in here. So I'm going to go into view filter. We don't have a roof in here, so I'm going to say OK. And I'm just going to add in a roof real quick. So we're going to select the 612 slope, and I'm just going to drop a roof in. Now this 612 slope roof, based on my default properties from my catalog, has framing already specified. So if I select the specify framing, I can see that there is already framing assigned to this particular roof. I can't do a report on the framing here because it's tied to or inside of the element of the roof. So if I want to show that and I wanted to show a member schedule of that, what I would do is I would go up to tools, and then I would go up to, I would go to insert, members, and I would select the convert framing to members option. This is going to give you a little pick cursor, and in the lower left-hand corner, you can see it says select surface. And all I'm going to do is just click on the roof itself, And it now goes through and it takes the members out from the ceiling or out from the roof, and it's now a separate entity. So the framing is no longer associated or tied to the roof. If I change the shape of the roof, these members are not going to move. So again, if I go in and I select the edge of that roof and I stretch it out, the roof shape will change, but the members stay in their exact spot because we've basically broken the association between the members and the roof. So only do this when you know you're finished with the editing of the roof. And I'm going to Control Z back. But now that I've separated the members from the roof, I can now create a member schedule based off of the members that were associated to the roof. So I can go up to Tools, Analyze, Schedules, and I can select Member Schedule. This will again bring up the member schedule dialog. Again, looks very similar to our doors, windows, and room schedules. Basically the same layouts. You just have different options of how you want these to be displayed. So in here we can see schedule title. We're going to call this again ground floor member schedule. And then again, you can see what we're actually inserting. So here you can see we're inserting a mark. We have the size, the description, the cut length, the actual length, the count, and then any notes that we want to add in. We can again go in and say, I actually want to go into the setup. Now, one question that I have got in the past is I want to show the mark as the actual length of the member that I'm going to be purchasing, or the actual length of the member as it's inserted. So you can adjust that option, and all you need to do here is you can set the content to be that you want it to be the purchase member length or the actual length. And then what you can also do is you're going to need to adjust the element mark as well. So here you can just see I wanted to mark it as the actual length. So I would remove this actual length. I would adjust the mark to be actual length. So my mark is going to be showing as the actual length, and it's going to show up in the report as the actual length. And then when I say OK, we're going to see the actual length for the mark. And then when we say OK to the dialog, and I place in that schedule, we're going to see the member schedule. So again, showing us all the information. But when we look at the actual plan view, the marks are going to show us the actual lengths of the members as they are inserted. So instead of being numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're going to see the actual length of those members in that report or in that plan view. So now that we've created all of our schedules, we now want to insert these into our worksheets. So that's going to be our next step. So now that, again, we have everything inserted, the easiest way to do this is to go into your worksheet view, and you can now go in and you can create your individual smart views for each schedule. So instead of going in, I mean, you could add in all the schedules for the ground floor, and you can go back into your model and you can do this. You can just simply move everything so that they're really close together. And if you want to do them in all at once, I'm going to move this guy down. I'll move this one up so that they're kind of close and similar. And then what you can do is you can go into your worksheet, and then you can go over and you can say underneath my smart views, I can say define smart view. And I can move over to the right hand side, and I can just use this area as a clipping plane and say I only want the schedules. And I can say inserts, and then attached to your cursor will be those schedules, and you can insert those in. And we may need to do some manipulating in here. So if I just go back to here, I'm just going to move these even closer together just so I can get everything in the page. So, and then back into sheets. And we're just going to update that and then move it into place. and get it as close as we can so it fits in there. Perfect. So that's one way of doing it. That's one big block of all of my schedules. But if I want to control where the placement of each schedule is, I can get even more customized. So I'm just going to delete that out. I'm going to go back into my model view and I'm just going to move these around. And I like to space them out because this is the way I like to do it. But again, this is just the way I do it. You don't have to follow my lead. You can do this, whatever's going to work best for you. But I usually have mine spaced out and then I go into my worksheets and then I insert each one individually. So I'll go up and I'll say define my smart view and I'm going to change the name to be, this is going to be, what's the first one going to be? Window. So I'm going to call this window schedule. And then I'm just going to go in and say I want to insert just the window schedule. So I'm going to zoom in just on the window schedule. And then I'm going to insert it. And I'm going to place that one right there. And then I'm going to go insert again. This is going to be door schedule. And again, I'm just going to insert just the door schedule. So I'm going to zoom in on just the door schedule. And then we're going to insert that. And I can, again, control exactly where I want that to sit. Again, we're going to change this one to be member schedule. And again, we're just going to zoom in on just the member schedule. And say insert. And we're going to place this one over here, like so. And then the last one is going to be our room schedule. Sorry, did I change? I think I may have put the wrong name in that last one. We'll check here. Close. No, I did member schedule. Okay, so we're going to go in and say room schedule. And we're going to go in and say, again, we just want to add in just the member schedule like so. And then we can say insert, and we can drop this guy in right here. So we've controlled where we want each of these schedules to be placed. Each of them are individual with their own name. So I can move things around to help organize my sheets to, again, help keep things organized in the way that I would like to see. So that covers everything that I was going to show you in today's class in regards to schedules. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through the review portion. But if you happen to have any questions, now is your chance to go ahead and type those in, and I will do my best to answer any of your questions. So again, just to review, schedules are a great way of conveying important information about the construction of your model. You can create door, window, member, and room finish schedules for each location within your design. When you create a door, window, or member schedule, the doors, windows, or members in your model are tagged with schedule marks that correspond to information listed on the schedules. You can choose not to tag the elements if you prefer. To report floor, ceiling, or roof surface framing within a schedule, you need to first convert the framing to members using the Convert Framing to Members tool. You can customize the contents and the appearance of a schedule by clicking the Setup button in the Schedule dialog. You can do this before or after the schedule has been inserted within your drawing area. You can insert a schedule onto a working drawing sheet, worksheet view by choosing a 2D model view to insert the view that includes the schedule. And then you can focus the view on the schedules before inserting them onto your sheet, or you can isolate each individual schedule to have further control of where you want the schedules to be situated within the working drawing sheet you're currently working on. So we do have a question. So once a schedule is in place, can we still edit it and insert columns? Yes, you should still be able to do that. So if we go back in, as an example, if I go back to my model view, let's go in and say, since we didn't add in a tag for our doors, let's say we don't need the tag option. So let's select this and double click on it, and that will bring up the door schedule. We can hit setup, And then what we can do here is, actually, no, you can't. That's right. Once it's been set up, you can't adjust the content, like adjusting the actual columns themselves. We can adjust the headings and the sizes of how those are going to look. But if we want to adjust the way it's actually being displayed, that has to be done from a fresh start. So we're going to delete that door schedule out. We're going to go back up to Tools, Analyze Schedules, and Door Schedule. And we're going to hit Setup. And then we're going to take Tag, and we're just going to delete the tag out. We're going to say Remove the tag. And then we're going to go in and say, I want to uncheck that tag option, but it does it automatically because I removed the tag option. And then I can say, OK. And we're just going to place that guy back in. And then I just have to go back into my sheet, select my door, and just say update, and it will update that view for me. So if I am changing the columns in the schedule, then yes, I will have to remove it and reinsert it. If I'm just changing the text in it, then no, I don't have to adjust it. I can just change the name in here and say ground floor door schedule. And then I can go in and say, I want this to be, I can adjust, add in notes. All of that can be adjusted. So I can just go in here and say test and say, okay. So that will adjust the schedule and I can update it. I can go into the properties again, and under setup, I can change the naming of these, but I can't insert or remove anything. So yes, you can edit, but if you're going to be adding or adjusting the actual column or the structure of the setup of the schedule, then you're going to need to delete it and reinsert it to do that. Hopefully that answers your question. If not, let me know. I can revisit that for you. And again, we would just go back to Sheets, and we want to make sure that since we added in a note, we're just going to update it again to show that new note for that schedule. So I'm just going to pause here for just another moment just to see if anybody has any other questions or any follow-up questions. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the class, I will be sending out an email that's going to contain a document that covers everything that we've talked about today in today's class. But should you happen to have any questions while going over that document, you can reach out to our support department and they will be happy to help you out with any questions you may have. Perfect. Well, there doesn't appear to be any other questions. So I do want to thank everybody for attending today. I do look forward to speaking with you all again very soon. So thank you very much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.